of truth. What is truth? Said Justin Pilate, and would not stay for an answer. Certainly there be that lie in giddiness, and uncounted bondage to fix a belief, affecting free will in thinking, as well as in acting. And though the sects of philosophers of that kind be gone, yet there remain certain discoursing wits, which are of the same veins, though there be not so much blood in them as was in those of the ancestors. But it's not only the difficult and labor, which men take in finding out of truth, nor again, that when it is found, it imposeth upon men's thoughts, that doth bring lies in favor, but a natural thought called love, of the lie itself. One of the later school of the Grecians examined the matter, and it is at a stand to think what should be in it, that men should love life, were neither they make for pleasure, as with poets, nor for advantage, as with the merchants, but for the life's sake. But I cannot tell. The same truth is naked and open the lie, that doth not show the mask, memories and triumphs of the world, also subtly and daintily the candle light. Truth may perhaps come to the price of a pearl, that soweth the best by day, but it will not rise to the price of a diamond or carbuncle that soweth best in the varied light. A mixture of a light that ever hath pleasure, that any man doubt that if there were taken out of men's minds, vain opinions, flattering hopes, false valuations, imaginations as one would, and the like, but it would leave the minds of a number of men poor, shirking things, full of melancholy and indisposition, and lapsing to themselves. One of the fathers, in great severity, called it poesy vinum donum, because it filled the imagination, and yet it is but with the shadow of light. But it's not the light that passeth through the mind, but the light that skinned in and settled in it, that doth the heart, such as we spake of before. But howsoever these things are thus in men's depraved judgments and affections, yet truth, which only doth judge itself, toucheth that the inquiry of truth, which is the love-making, or going of it, the knowledge of truth, which is the preserving of it, and the belief of truth, which is the enjoying of it, is the sovereign good of human nature, the first creature of good. In the work of the day was the light of the sense, the last was the light of the reason, and his Sabbath work ever since is the illumination of his spirit. First he radiated light upon the face of the mother or cow, then he radiated light into the face of man, and still he radiated an spiritual light into the face of his chosen. The poet, that beautiful the same, that was otherwise inferior to the rest, said yet excellently well, "It's a pleasure to stand upon the shore, and to see ships tossed upon the sea, a pleasure to stand in the window of a castle and to see a battle and adventures thereof below. But no pleasure is comparable to the standing up advantage, ground of truth, a hill not to be common, and where the air is always clear and certain, to see the errors and wanderings and mist and tempest in the vault below, so always that is perplexed, be with pity, and not with swelling or pride. Certainly it is heaven upon earth, to have a man's mind move in courage, raising providence and turn upon the police of truth, to pass from theological and philosophical truth to the truth of civil business, acknowledged even by those that practice it not that clear and round daily, is the honor of my nature, and that mixture is like a law in the cone of gold and silver, which may make the metal work the better, but it embaseth it. For these winding and crooked courses are the goings of the serpent, which goeth audaciously upon the belly, and not upon the feet there is no void, that doth so cover a man with shame, found false and predicted, and therefore mountains saith he pretty, when he inquired the reason why the world of the light should be such a disgrace, and such an injury. Che, said he, if it be well weighed to say that a man led is as much to say as that is brave towards God, and a coward towards men. For a lie faces God, and shrinks from man. Surely the wickedness of falsehood and breach of faith cannot possibly be so highly expressed, as in that it shall be the last bill to call the judgments of good upon the generations of men. It being foretold that when Christ cometh he shall not find fight upon the earth of death. Men fear death, as children fear to go in the dark, and as that natural fear in children, it increases with the other certainly the comprehension of death, as the wage of sin, and passage into another world is holy and religious, but the fear of it as attribute to unto nature is weak. Yet in religious meditation there is sometimes mixture of vanity and of superstition. You shall read in some of the friar's book of mortification that man with himself what the pain is if he have but his finger and press it, or torture, and try to imagine what the pains of death are, when the whole body is corrupt, and dissolved when many times it passeth, with less pain than the torture of a limb, for the most vital parts are not the quickest of sense. And by him that spake only as a philosopher and natural man, it was well said, Pompa mortis magister, quam mors ipsa, groans, and convulsions, and discolored face, and friends weeping and blacks, and obsequies, and the like, show death terrible. It is worthy the observing that there is no passion in the mind of man so weak, but it matters, and masters the fear of death. And therefore death is not such terrible enemy when a man has so many attempts about him, that can win the combat of him. Revenge triumphs of death, love's light, honor aspires to it, great value to it, fair preoccupied night we read. After Otto, the emperor had slain himself, pity, provoked many to die, all the American patient to their suffering, and as the three sword followers, nai Seneca ad sineses and sateti cogita quam Athens Feceris moribili not tantum fortis aut miser sedetiam fastidiis potest. A man will die though he were neither valiant nor miserable, only upon awareness to do the same thing so over and over. It's now less worthy to observe how little alteration in good spirits the approach of death made, for they appear to be the same men, till the last instant. August Caesar died in the complaint, Livia conhori nostri memor vivet vale. Tiberius dissimulation as Tacitus side of him. Ham Tiberium bears et corpus non dissimulatio deservant. Vespian in ace sitting upon the stall at puto deus fiu. Galba with a sentence, Pharisee recite populi Roman holding for his neck. Septimius Severus in the dispatch adeste quidi me restat agendum and the like. Certainly the Stoics bestowed too much cost upon it, and by preparations made it appear more fearful. Better say, he qui finem vitae extremum inter munera ponat nature. It is unnatural to die, as to be born, and to a little infant. Perhaps to one is as painful as the other. He that dies in an earnest pursuit is like one that is wounded in the hot blood, who for the time scarce feels the truth and the fall and mix fixed, and bed upon somewhat that is good, that ever the daughters of the but above all, believe the Zeus canticles, not deem it, when a man had obtained wings and inspection. That had this also, that it opened the gate of good fame, and extinguished heaven, extinguished ambiture Eden, of unity in religion. Religion by the chief bond of human society is a happy thing when itself is well contained within the true bond of unity. The quarrels and divisions about religion were evils unknown to the heathen. The reason was because the religion of the heathen consisted rather rites in ceremonies than in a constant belief, for you may imagine what kind of fight there was, when the chief doctors and fathers of their church were the poets, but the true God has attribute that is a jealous God, and therefore his worship and religion will endure in a mixture, nor partner. We shall therefore speak a few words concerning the unity of the church, what are fruits thereof, what the bounds, and what the means. The fruits of unity are two, the one toward those that are without the crunch, the other toward those that are within. For the former it's certain that heresies and schemes are of all others the greatest scandals, yea, more than corruption of manners. For as in the natural body, a want or solution of continuity is worse than a corrupt hammer, so in the spiritual nothing, that so much keep man out of the church, and drive men out of the church, as breach of unity. And therefore, whensoever it cometh to that pass, that one saith, Ecce in deserto, another saith, Ecce in a penetralibus, that is when some men say Christ in the conventicles of heretics, and others in the outward face of a church, that voice hath need continually to sound in men's ears, nor let exert, go not out, the doctor of the Gentiles. Davis a heathen coming, and hear you speak with several tongues. Will he not state that you are mad? And certainly it's little better when atheists and profound persons do hear of so many discordant and contrary opinions in religion. It doth aver them from the church and make them to sit down in the chair of the scorners. It is very likely to be vouched in so serious matter, but yet it expressed well in the form. There is a master of scoffing that in his catalog of books of a faint library sets down little book, the morris dance of heretics, for in that every sect of them had a diverse posture or cringery by themselves, which can not but move derision of worldlings and the private politics who are apt to condemn holy things. As for the fruits towards those that are within, it is peace which contains infinite blessing. It establishes faith in the kindled charity to outward peace of the church, distilled into peace of conscience, and it turns the labors of writing and reading of controversies into theatres of mortification and devotion. Considering the bounds of unity, the true placing of them, imported excellently, appear to be too extreme for two certain seldom. All speech of pacification is odious. It's peace, Jew. What has to do with peace? Turn thee behind me. Peace is not matter. Of this I may give only this advice, according to my small model. May not to take it, upending God's church, by two kinds of controversy. The one is, when the matter of the point controverted is man and light, not worth the heart, and strive about it, kindled only by contradiction. For as it's noted by one of the fathers, Christ co-added had no sin, but the church's vesture was of diverse colors, whereupon he said, "Investe variety scissor and not seed." They be two things, unity and uniformity. The other is when the matter of the point controversy is great, but it is driven to an overgreated subtlety and obscurity, so that it becoming a thing rather ingenious than substantial demand that its achievement and understanding of revenge. Revenge is a kind of good justice, which the more man's nature runs to, the more also like to weed it out. For as for the first wrong, it hath but often the law, but the revenge of that wrong blooded the law of the office. Certainly, in taking revenge, a man is but even with his enemy, but in passing it over, he is superior for its prince part to pardon. And Solomon, I am sure, said, "It is the glory of a man to pass by an offence. That which is past is gone, and irrevocable, and which men have enough to do with things present and to come. Therefore they do but refuse with themselves the labor in past matter. There is no man that a wrong for the wrong's sake, but ready to purchase himself profit, or pleasure, or honor, or the like. Therefore why should I be angry with a man, for loving himself better than me? And if any man should do wrong morally, it will not do, while yet it is bad, like the thorn or briar, which prick and scratch because they can do no other. The most tolerable resort of revenge is for those wrongs which there is no law to remedy. But then let a man take it. The revenge be such as there is no law to punish, else a man enemy is still beforehand and is two for one. Some, when they take revenge, are desirous the party should know when it cometh. This is the more generous for the delight seemeth to be, not so much in doing the harm. You shall read, said he, that we are commanded to forgive our enemies, but you never read that we are commanded to forgive our friends. But yet the spirit of Job was in a better tune. Shall we take a good at good hand, and not to be content to take evil also, and serve friends in a proportion? This is certain that a man that studied revenge keeps in a one's green, which otherwise would help and do well. Public revenge are for the most part fortunate, as that for the death of Caesar, for the death of Pertinax, for the death of Henry the Third of France, and many more, but in private revenge it's not so. Nor rather will irreversible live the life of witches, who as they there are mischievous when the infortunate of adversity. It was an high speech of Seneca, that the good things which belong to prosperity are to be wished, but the good things that belong to adversity are to be admitted. Born rerum secundarum optabilia adversarum mirabilia, certainly if miracles be the common over nature, they appear most in adversity. It's yet higher speech of this than the other. It's true worthiness to have in one the faculty of a man, and security of a good. Ver magnum harvere hominis securitium Dei. This would have done better in poesy, where transcendents are more allowed, and the poets indeed have been busy with it, for it is in effect the thing which figured in that strange fiction of the ancient poet, which seemed not to be without mystery, neither to have some approach of the state of Christian, that Hercules when with his hand with unbeing Prometheus sailed the length of the great ocean in earthen fought pitch, liberally describing Christian resolution that sailed in the fog park of the flesh. through the waves of the world, but to speak in a mean, the virtue of prosperity of temperance, the virtue of adversity is fortitude, which in normal is the more heroical virtue. Prosperity is the blessing of the Old Testament. Adversity is the blessing of the New, which carry the greater benediction and clear revelation of God's favor. Gods elaborate more in describing the affliction of Job than the felicities of Solomon. Prosperity is not without many fears and distractions, and adversity is not without comfort and hope. We see needle works in embroidery. It is more pleasing to have lively work upon a sad solemn ground than to have a dark and melancholy work upon lightsome ground. Who therefore our pleasure of heart by the pleasure of eye. Entirely virtually is like precious odors, most fragrant when they are instead of crucial of prosperity that best discover vice, but adversity that best discover virtue. Of simulation and dissimulation. Dissimulation is but a fine kind of policy, or wisdom, for it asketh a strong will, and a strong heart, to know when to tell truth and to do it. Therefore, it's the weaker sort of politics that are the great dissemblers. Tacitus said, Livia sorted well the arts of her husband, and dissimulation of her son, attributing arts or policy to Augustus and dissimulation to Tiberius. And again, when Marcians encouraged Vespasian to take arms against Vitellius, he said, we rise not against the pressing judgment of Augustus, not extreme caution or closeness of Tiberius. The properties of our policy and dissimulation on policy are needed habits, faculties several and to be distinguished. For if man have that penetration of judgment, as he can discern what things are to be laid open, and what to be secreted, and what to be showed at half light, and to whom and when, which indeed are arts of state, and arts of life, as Tacitus will call it them. To him a habit dissimulation the grounded of poorness, but if a man to that judgment, then it left to him generally to be close and not dissembler, for where a man cannot choose, or vary in particular, there is good to take the safest, and what is going general like the going softly by the one can of less. Certainly the ablest man that ever were, have Holland and openness and frankness of dealing and man of certainly embarrassing, but then they were like horse when managed, for they could tell passing well when to stop or turn, and at such time when they saw the case indeed required dissimulation, even they use it, it come to pass that the former opinion spread abroad of their good faith and clearness of the limb, made them almost invisible. There be 3 degrees of his hiding and veiling of a man's the first closeness, reservation, and secrecy when a man labelled himself without observation or without hold to be taken, what is the second dissimulation in the negative, when a man lays false signs and argument, that he is not, that he is, and the third simulation in the affirmative, when a man injustly and expressly feigns and pretends to be he is not. For the fears of this secrecy is indeed the virtue of confessor, and absolutely the secret man heard many confessions, for who will open himself to blabber, but if man so secret indeed to discover, as the more close are in the more open. And as a confession, the revelating is not for worldly use, but for the days of a man heart. So secret men come the knowledge of many things in that kind, will rather discard their minds than important their minds. In few words, mysteries are due to secrecy. Besides, nakedness is uncommonly as well mind as body, and added to snow, reverence to men's manner and action. if they but not altogether open. As for talkers, apathy persons, they are commonly vain and settled quite well, for the that talked what they know with also that know it know. Therefore see it down that the habit of secrecy is both politic and moral, and its part is good that a man's face give his tongue leave to speak, for the discovery of a man saved by the tracts of his countenance is a great weakness, better by no much is many times more marked, and believe that a man's words. For the second, which is dissimulation, it followed many times. For men are too cunning to suffer a man to keep a different character between both, and to be secret without saying balance on either side. They will so base a man question and draw him, and pick it out of him, that without an absurd silence, he must show an inclination one way, of it than that they will gather as much by his silence as by his speech. But for the third degree, which is simulation and false profession, that is whole more culpable and less politic, excessive in degree are matters therefore in general custom of simulation is a vice, raising either of natural falseness for aloneness of a mind that some main faults, which because a man needs deceit it make him practice simulation in other things, lest his hands should be out of use. The great advantages of simulation and dissimulation are three: first, to lay at the opposition and to surprise, for where men's intentional publication it is an alarm to call up all that are against them. The second is to reserve to man's self a further threat. The third is the better to discover the mind another from or to king that opens himself. Men will hardly so show themselves adverse, but will fair let him go on, and turn their freedom of speech to freedom of thought. And therefore is a good shewed proverb of a Spartan, tell a lie and find truth, as there will in a way discovery. But by simulation there be also the disadvantage to set it even. The fears that simulation and dissimulation commonly carry with them a show of fraudulence which any business, though spoil the fathers of Rome flying upon the mark. The second that exposes and parallel the conscience of many that perhaps would otherwise cooperative with him, and makes a man walk almost alone to his own, and the third greatest is that deprive the man. The best composition and temperature is to have openness in fame and opinion, secrecy in habit, dissimulation is a seasonable use, and a power to fame if there be no remedy. Of parents and children. The chosen parents are sacred, and so are their grievers and fears. They cannot utter the one, nor they will not utter the other children. Sweeten labors, but they make misfortunes more bitter. They increase the cares of love, but they make they reimburse of day. The perpetuity by generation is common, but memory, merit, and noble goals are proper to men, and surely and mal shall the noblest works and foundations have proceeded from childish men which have some to express the images of their minds, where those of their bodies have failed. So the care of posterity is most in them that have no posterity. They that are fierce raisers of their houses are most indulgent towards their children, beholding them as continuously not only of their kind, but of their work, and so both children and creatures. Men have a foolish manner, both parents and schoolmasters and servants, in creating and breeding an emulation between brothers, during childhood, which many times ordered to discord when they are men, and disturb families. The Italians make little difference between children, and you fears or near kinsfolks, but so they be of the lamb. They care not how they pass not through their own body. And to see through nature is much like matter, insomuch that we see an infant sometimes resembled an uncle or a kinsman more than his own parent, as the blood happens. The parents should choose between the vacations and courses they mean their children should take. For them, they are most flexible, and they learn to not to match apply themselves to the disposition of the children as thinking they will take the best of that which they have most mind. It is true that if the affection of our parents of the children be extraordinary, then it could not cross it. But generally the perceive is good. Optimum elige suave facility facit constitut. Younger brothers are commonly fortunate, but seldom or never with the elder deserter. Of marriage and single life. He that had wife and children had given hostage to fortune for their impediments to great enterprises, either virtue or mischief, centrally the best word, and of greatest merit for the public, have proceeded from the unmarried or childless men, which both in affection and means have married and endowed the public. Yet it were great reason that those that have children should have greatest care of future times, unto which they know they must transmit their interests pledged. Some there are who thought they led a single life, yet their thoughts do end with sensations and account future times impertinences, and there are some others that account wife and children, but as bill of church. Nay more, there are some foolish, like covetous men that take a pride in having a children because they may be thought so much the richer. For perhaps they have heard some talk, such as one is a great rich man and another accepts it. Yet, but he had a great charge of child, as if it were an abatement to his riches. But the most ordinary because of civil life is liberty, especially in certain self-pleasing and numerous minds, which are so sensibly over-restrained, as they will go near to think the girdles and garters to be bonds and shackles. Unmarried men are best friends, best masters, best servants, but not always best subjects, for they are like to run away, and almost all fugitivities are of that condition. A single latitude well with chargement, for charity will hardly water the ground, where it must fill a pool. It's indifferent for judges and magistrates, for if they be facile corrupt. You shall have a servant 5 times worse than a wife. For soldiers, I find generals commonly in the orthatips put men in mind of their gifts and child. I think the space in advance and many more, but in the private revenge it's not so. No rather will the longer person live the life of witches, who as they there are mischievous and the infortunate of adversity. It was an high speech of Seneca, that the good things which belong to prosperity are to be wished, but the good things that belong to adversity are to be admitted. Born rerum secundarum optabilia adversarum mirabilia, certainly if miracles be the common over nature, they appear most in adversity. It's yet higher speech of this than the other. Its true worthiness to have in one the fatality of a man, and security of a good. Ver magnum harvere hominis securitium Dei. This would have done better in poesy, where transcendence are more allowed, and the poets indeed have been busy with it, for it is in effect the thing which figured in that strange fiction of the ancient poet, which seemed not to be without mystery, neither to have some approach of the state of Christian, that Hercules when we can with and being Prometheus, sailed the length of the great ocean in earthen fought pitch, lively describing Christian resolution that sailed in the park of the flesh, through the waves of the world, but to speak in a mean, the virtue of prosperity of temperance, the virtue of adversity is fortitude, which in normal is the more heroical virtue. Prosperity is the blessing of the Old Testament. Adversity is the blessing of the New, which carry the greater benediction and clear revelation of God's favor. Gods that labored more in describing the affliction of Job than the felicities of Solomon. Prosperity is not without many fears and distractions, and adversity is not without comfort and hope. We see needle works in embroidery. It is more pleasing to have lively work upon us. There's certainly the completion of day, as the wage of sin, and passage into another world is holy and religious, but the fear of it as attribute to unto nature is weak. Yet in religious meditation there is sometimes mixture of vanity and of superstition. You shall read in some of the friar's book of mortification that man with himself what the pain is if he have but his finger and press it, or torture and try to imagine what the pains of death are, when the whole body is corrupt, and dissolved when many times it passed, with less pain than the torture of a limb, for the most vital parts are not the quickest of sense. And by him that spake only as a philosopher and natural man, it was well said, Pompa mortis magister, quam mors ipsa, groans, and convulsions, and discolored face, and friends weeping and blacks, and obsequies, and the like, show death terrible. It is worthy the observing that there is no passion in the mind of man so weak, but it matters, and masters the fear of death, and therefore death is not such terrible enemy when a man has so many attempts about him, that can win the combat of him. Revenge triumphs of death, love's light, honor aspires to it, great folly to it, fair perpetual night we read. After Otto, the emperor had slain himself, pity, provoked many to die, all the mere compassion to their sovereign, and as the three sword followers, nai Seneca ad sineses and sateti cogita quambi, Adams Feceris moribili no tantum fortis aut miser, sedetiam fastidius potest. A man will die though he will neither valiant nor miserable, only upon awareness to do the same thing so over and over. It's now less worthy to observe how little alteration in good spirits the approach of death made, for they appear to be the same men, till the last instant. August Caesar died in the complaint, Livia conhori nostri memor vivet vale. Tiberius dissimulation as Tacitus side of him. Ham Tiberium bears et corpus non dissimulation deservant. Vespian in ace sitting upon the stall, at puto deus fiu. Galba with a sentence, Ferris ex recite populi Roman holding for his neck. Septimius Severus in the Savage Adeste Cidi mi restat agendum and the like. Certainly the Stoics bestowed too much cast upon death, and by operations made it appear more fearful. Better say, he qui finem vitae extremum inter munera ponat nature. It is unnatural to die, as to be born, and to a little infant. Perhaps to one is as painful as the other. He that dies in an earnest pursuit is like one that is wounded in the hot blood, who for the time scarce feels the truth and therefore and makes fixed, and bet upon somewhat that is good, that aver the dolors of death, but above all, believe. The Zeus Canticles, not deemed, when a man had obtained wins and inspection. That had this also, that it opened the gate of good fame, and extinguished heaven, extinguished ambiture Eden. Of unity in religion. Religion by the chief bond of human society is a happy thing when itself is well contained within the true bond of unity. The quarrels and divisions about religion were ever unknown to the heathen. The reason was because the religion of the heathen consisted rather rites in ceremonies than in a constant belief, for you may imagine what kind of fight there was, when the chief doctors and fathers of their church were the poets, but the true God has a attribute that is a jealous God, and therefore his worship and religion will endure in a mixture, nor partner. We shall therefore speak a few words concerning the unity of the church. What are fruits thereof, what the bounds, and what the means? The fruits of unity are two: the one toward those that are without, the other toward those that are within. For the former it's certain that heresies and schemes are of all others the greatest scandals, yea, more than corruption of manners. For as in the natural body, a want or solution of continuity is worse than a corrupt humor, so in the spiritual nothing that so much keep man out of the church and drive men out of the church as breach of unity. And therefore, whensoever it cometh to that pass, that one saith, Ecce in deserto, another saith, Ecce the knoweth with also that knoweth no. Therefore see it down that the habit of secrecy is both politic and moral, and its part is good that a man's face give his tongue leave to speak, for the discovery of a man's self by the tracts of his countenance is a great weakness, better by no much is many times more marked, and believe that a man's words. For the second, which is dissimulation, it followed many times. For men are too cunning to suffer a man to keep a different character between both, and to be secret without saying balance on either side. They will so base a man question and draw him, and pick it out of him, that without an absurd silence, he must show an inclination one way, of it that they will gather as much by his silence as by his speech. But for the third degree, which is simulation and false profession, that is whole more culpable and less politic, except in the greed are matters, therefore, in general custom of simulation is a vice, raising either of natural falseness for aloneness of a mind that some main faults, which because a man needs deceit it make him practice simulation in other things, lest his hands should be out of use. The great advantages of simulation and dissimulation are three: first, to lay at the opposition and to surprise, for where men's intentional publication it is an alarm to call up all that are against them. The second is to reserve to man's health for a threat. The third is the better to discover the mind another, for to king that opens himself, men will hardly so show themselves adverse, but will fair let him go on, and turn their freedom of speech to freedom of thought. And therefore it is a good shewed proverb of a Spaniard, tell a lie and find truth, as there will in a way discover, but by simulation there be also the disadvantage to set it even. The fear that simulation and dissimulation commonly carry with them a show of fraudulence which any business, though spoil the fathers of Rome flying upon the mark. The second, that disposes and persuades the conscience of many that perhaps would otherwise cooperative with him, and makes a man walk almost alone to his own end. The third greatest is that deprives the man. The best composition and temperature is to have openness in fame and opinion, secrecy in habit, Dissimulation is a seasonable use and a power to fame if there be no remedy. Of parents and children. The joys of parents are sacred, and so are their griefs and fears. They cannot utter the one, nor they will not utter the other. Children sweeten labors, but they make misfortunes more bitter. They increase the cares of love, but they make the remembrance of them. The perpetuity by generation is common, but memory, merit, and noble goals are proper to men, and surely and all shall the noblest works and foundations have proceeded from childish men which have some to express the images of their minds, where those of their bodies have failed. So the care of posterity is most in them that have no posterity. They that are fierce raisers of their houses are most indulgent towards their children, beholding them as continuously not only of their kind, but of their work, and so both children and creatures may have a foolish manner, both parents and schoolmasters inseparable, in creating and breeding an emulation between brothers, during childhood, which many times ordered to discord when they are men, and disturb families. The Italians make little difference between children, and in fierce or near kinsfolks, but so they be of the lamb. They care not how they pass not through their own body, and to say through nature is much like matter, insomuch that we see an infant sometimes resembled an uncle or a kinsman more than his own parent as the blood happens. The parents choose betimes the vacations and courses they may their children shall take, for then they are most flexible, and will learn to not to much apply themselves to the disposition of the children, as thinking they will take the best of that which they have most mind. It is true that if the affection of our parents of the children be extraordinary, then it is good not cross it, but generally the perceive is good. Optimum elige suave is when some men say Christ in the conventicles of heretics, and others in the outward face of a church. That voice hath need continually to sound in men's ears, nor let exert, go not out, the doctor of the Gentiles. Davis a Hayden coming, and hear you speak with several tongues. Will he not state that you are mad? And certainly it's little better when atheists and profound persons do hear of so many discordant and contrary opinions in religion. It does aver them from the church and make them to sit down in the chair of the scorners. It is vital, I think, to be vouched in so serious matter, but yet expressed well in the form. There is a master of scoffing that in his catalog of books of a faint library sets down little book, the morris dance of heretics, for in that every sect of them had a diverse posture or cringery by themselves, which cannot but move derision of worldlings and the private politics who are apt to condemn holy things. As for the fruits towards those that are within, it is peace which contains infinite blessing. It establishes faith in the kindled charity to outward peace of the church, distilled into peace of conscience, and it turns the labors of writing and reading of controversies into theatres of mortification and devotion. Considering the bonds of unity, the true placing of them, imported excellently, appear to be too extreme for too certain seldom. All speech of pacification is odious. It's peace, Jew. What has to do with peace? Turn thee behind me. Peace is not matter. Of this I may give only this advice, according to my small model. May not to take it, upending God's church, by two kinds of controversy. The one is, when the matter of the point controverted is man and light, not worth the heart, and strive about it, kindled only by contradiction. For as it's noted by one of the fathers, Christ God indeed had no sin, but the church vesture was of driver's color, whereupon he said, Investe variety scissor and not seed. They be two things, unity and uniformity. The other is when the matter of the point controversy is great, but it is driven to an overgreated subtlety and obscurity, so that it becoming a thing rather ingenious than substantial, a man that is of judgment and understanding. The same is the case of men that rise after calamities and misfortunes, for that there as men fallen out with times, and the other men harms and redemption of their own sufferings. They that desire to excel into many matters out of levity and vain glory are ever envious, for they can no one work in vain impossible, but many in some one of the things shall surpass them, which was the character of Adrian the Emperor, the mortality and vice poets and painters and artificers and works wherein he had a pain to excel. Lastly, need king's faults and fellows in office, and those that have been bred together are more apt to envy their equals when they arise for it to do prey unto them, or fortunate and pointed at them, and cometh offender into their remembrance, and incurred likewise more into the notes of offers, and envy ever redoubled from speech and fame. Concerning those that are more or less subject to envy first. Persons of eminent virtue, when they are advanced, are less envied for their fortune seemed but due into them, and no man envy the payment of a debt, but rewards and liberality. Rather again, envy is ever joined with the comparing of a man's self, and where there is no comparison, no envy, and therefore kinds are not envied but by kings. Nevertheless, so noted that unworthy persons are most envied. Their first coming in, afterwards overcoming is better, whereas contrariwise, persons of worth and merit are most envied when their fortune continue long, for by that time, though their virtue be the same, yet it had not the same lustre, for fresh men grow up that darken. Persons of noble blood are less envied in the reason for it, seemed varied on their birth, besides 3 seemed of much added to their fortune, and envy is at the surround that with other upon a bank, or step rising grown down upon a flat, and for the same reason those that are advanced degrees are less embedded than those that are advanced suddenly and per salto. Those that have journeyed with their honor, great travels, cares, or prayers are less subject to envy, for men think that they earn their honors hardly, and pity them sometimes, and pity ever holdeth envy. Wherefore you shall observe that the more deep and sober sort of politic persons, in their gladness, are even warming themselves while alive, they live, chanting a quanta patium. Not that they feel it so, but only about the edge of envy. But this is to be understood of business that is laid upon men, and not such as they call unto themselves for nothing in classes every morning, that unnecessary and ambitious engrossing of business, and nothing though exquisite can be done for a great person to preserve other inferior sufferings in their full race and preserve of the place where they means there are so many screens between him and envy. Above all, those are most subject to envy which carry the greatness of their fortunes in a solid and proud manner, being never without, while they are showing how great they are, either by outward point or triumphing over all opposition or competition, whereas with men will rather do sacrifice to envy in suffering themselves sometimes or propose to be crossed and overburning the things that do not much concern them. Nothing study so much is true that the courage of greatness in a plain and open manner. So it be without arrogancy and vainglory, and doubtless envy than it be in a more crafty and cunning fashion. For in that course a man doth but disable fortune and seemeth to be conscious of his own what in work, and doth but teach others to envy him. Lastly, to include this part, as we said in the beginning, that the act of envy had somewhat in the witchcraft. So there is no other cure of envy but the cure of witchcraft, and that is remove the lot, as they call it, and to lay it upon another. For which purpose the wizards or other persons bringing ever upon the stage somebody upon whom they derive the envy that will come upon themselves, sometimes upon ministers and servants, sometimes upon colleagues and associates and the like. For that too there are never waiting some persons of violent and undertaking nature, who, so they may have power and business, will take it at any cost. Now, to speak of public envy, there is yet some good public envy, whereas in private there is one. For public envy is an ostracism that eclipses men when they grow too great, and therefore it's a riddle also to great ones to keep them within bounds. This envy vein in the Latin word invidia, goeth in the mother language by the name is complement of which we shall speak. In Handel's edition, it is a state-like to infection, for as infection spreaded upon that which it sounds, and tainted it so whenever it gotten once into its status, even the best actions thereof, and turned them into an ill odor, and therefore there is a little one by intermingling of plausible actions, for those argue by the weakness and fear of envy, which hurls so much and more as it is likewise usually in infection, which if of fear them you call them upon you. This public envy seemed to be chiefly This public envy seemed to be chiefly upon principal officers, ministers, rather than upon kings and states themselves. But this is a sure rule, that if the envy upon the minister be great, when the cause of it in him is small, or if the envy be general in a manner upon all the ministers of an state, then the envy is truly upon the state itself, and so much a public envy or discontentment, and the difference thereof from private envy which was handled in the first place. We will add this in general touching the affection of envy, that of all other affection is the most importunity and continual, for of others affection there is occasion given but now and then, and therefore it was well said, invidia festus that is not a hit, for it's ever working upon some or other, and it's also not that love and envy to make a man pain, which other affections do not, because they are not so continual. It's also the vilest affection and the most depraved, for which case it is the proper attribute of the devil, who is called the envious man, that so starts among the wet by night, as it always cometh to pass that envy worked subtly and in the dark, and of the prejudice of good things, such as is the wet of love. The stage is more beholding to love than the life of man, for as to the stage love is ever matter of comedies, and now and then of tragedies, but in life it that much mischief, sometimes like a siren, sometimes like a fury. You may observe that almost all great and worthy persons, there is not one that has been transported to demand the degree of love, which shows that great spirits and great business to keep out this weak passion. You must accept nevertheless Marcus Antonius, the half partner of the Empire of Rome, and Appius Claudius, the designer and lawgiver, where the former was indeed the bondsman and inordinate, but the latter was austere and wise man, and therefore it seems that love can find entrance not only into an open heart but also into a heart well fortified if watch be not well kept. It's a poor saying of Epicurus Satimanium after alteri theatrum sumus, as if man made for the contemplation of heaven, and all noble objects shall do nothing but can before a little makes itself a subject. Thou not for a moment, yet of the eye, which was given him for higher purpose, it's a strange thing to know the excess of his passion and how it braves the nature and value things by this that the speaking in a perpetual hyperbole is commonly in nothing but in love. Neither is merely in the phrase for whereas it had been will say that the Archfather with whom all the pretty fathers have intelligence is a man's self. Certainly the lover is more, for there was never proud man thought so absolutely well of himself as the lover of the person loved, and thereof it was well said, that it is impossible to love to be wise, neither though this weakness appear the others only, and not to depart love, but to love must